Welcome to Penny Bradley, Nacht Waffen Pilot Presents. We're doing a roundtable today with my friends Matt Tracey and Will Glover, who have altars in space together. So we're going to get to hear some of those stories today. So who wants to go first?
I'll let Will go first. Go ahead.
I mean, this started with Matt and I. I think it was it the first or the second conversation we had together? I think maybe the second conversation is when we saw Spartan emerge.
It was the second conversation we had together. It was the second conversation. We were on the phone together.
And yeah, you started seeing something, and I guess I was tuning in somehow, but that was when the first incident where we had this kind of shared vision of things, and it was that was the first time, besides with you, Penny, that I'd ever experienced that, but this was like real time where we were interacting and kind of a whole different thing. So I'll let you talk about Spartan if you want to, Matt, or if you guys are caught up to that spot of who he is and all that good stuff.
We hadn't caught up to that spot yet.
We just
I told
described
his early years last night.
Uh-oh. Okay, freezing up.
We kind of described who Spartan was and his early years growing up with Draco and his family, and some of the basic training he had, but nothing leading up to how he would know you.
Right.
And
then
we described in the prior interview where that you pulled me in and showed me my altar being obnoxious on the bridge. And somewhere you have some drawings you've made of her, including the snarky look she gave you.
Yes. It's hard to forget such a look, but yes. But no, that was really cool, honestly. I'm glad. That was like I said, it wasn't until we were on the radio that I actually knew that happened. So, but this deal with Matt was completely different. This was like we're literally describing and testing each other and trying to figure out if we're seeing the right thing and the same thing and the whole 9 yards. But I guess it goes back to when I saw Matt throw that car, like that was when he did an interview with Reality Brief, and I saw him and I was like,
yeah, you remember more about when we first met than I do.
Well, it just was that day. I mean, it's more because you just, you get used to some crazy stuff. So when you see something that out of left field, let's say, it was like, shocking, and it kind of, I guess, left a mark in me.
So tell us about what it was.
Okay, so it was, I think there was 4 of us on a team, and we're moving in a position and we're getting pinned down and we need cover. And I'm like, Matt, we need cover. And I'm like, move that car. And he like picks it up and just chunks it, like it was like a rag doll, and we're all just in shock as we see this car flying through the air. Like, oh my God. And we all look at each other like, hell yeah. Like we're so stoked this guy's on our team, because what I remembered in that, like, there was something like he wasn't really like, we had kind of a close knit thing. You know how it is when you work on missions together, and there was a new guy, and he was kind of different than the rest of us. He kind of, I want to say antisocial, just to himself, but he didn't really jive with us that well, honestly. And then he throws that car, and we're like, oh man, this guy's awesome, and we're so excited to have him on the team, and just that feeling of elation and being like, thank God this guy's on our team, kind of deal. And
yeah, and instead of me blowing up a factory and killing the whole team.
I'm starting to lose the connection.
You need some light too.
But yeah, so that was, and then
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 lights on.
Oh
Just
no.
about as best as I can do.
Okay. Mine isn't on yet.
Very, very mysterious. It's all good. Let's see.
There. So.
But yeah, so that's I mean, apparently I have an altar that's works with the Draco faction, and we were teamed up together, and that's how we met and were put together. Or apparently, I guess we're the freaks or something. I don't know, whatever that is. But so we've had
the relative term.
Yeah, well,
Especially when it's Nacht Waffen and Draco working together.
What he's referring to freaks is we're out there, like he said, out there left field, even for Nacht Waffen and Draco.
Okay.
Or I mean, at least that's what they told us. At least that's how that's how it was presented to us. I mean,
they wanted to keep us on a tight leash because they weren't sure what to do with us. Our abilities were so out there and more so stronger than most other people.
So yeah,
like,
we were something to be, I guess we made a name for ourselves or something like that.
Okay, I want examples. What did you guys do besides pick up cars?
Well, I don't. I mean,
we worked for the Draco. We did their dirty work. We were bodyguards, assassins, envoys. We were mediators between the humans, the Germans, and the Draco. We did all kinds of work. We were kind of like the Draco contractors.
Okay.
Because we could handle their. We could handle their. I mean, we could handle them. Not handle them, but we just knew how how to deal with them. I mean, they're distinct.
We could be in their presence very easily. No
we
effort.
knew their way. We know not to piss them off.
With our enhanced psychic abilities, we were very useful to them.
Okay, I understand that, Matt. Will, what was this about? We knew better than to piss them off.
Well, we just their ways. Like we knew their culture. We knew how to act. We knew how not to get smashed or we fit in. And I mean, like Matt said,
and sometimes we would do the smashing.
Totally. And
we were there when
I mean, Matt brought this point up about why they use us like to keep people off balance,
Yeah.
You froze up, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, y'all have been freezing up periodically on my end. Just trying
but
to
yeah, Matt, you want to talk about that, Matt, since that was kind of your topic. I don't want to steal that thunder.
I'm sorry, I didn't make that out.
Okay, I'll just mention it. Like because we were humans running around in areas that humans weren't usually, and dealing with reptilians and dealing with the other noble houses and everything. It was, we were kind of used to kind of keep everybody off balance because they weren't used to humans being around. And of course some of them.
And then there was this one scene I remember. It was so hilarious. We were acting as bodyguards or something to this one Draco, and you got to understand the Draconians. They really like their throne rooms. They're very what's that word? Into their possessions and stuff. And so I'm just leaning up against this one pillar while I'm watching these Germans barely able to stand up in front of this Draco. They wound up falling to their knees while trying to communicate with this Draco in his own throne room. And
yeah,
I'm just leaning up against the pillar like there's nothing wrong, and they're looking at me like I hate you.
Yeah, that's exactly how they responded to me when I did the same thing. Yeah. They used me on ships as a liaison between the German officers and the Draco, who would occasionally visit. And the Germans would, if she can do it, I can do it. And they would be in there and they'd be to their knees and their heads would be just about gone. And I would tell them, are you ready to leave yet? And they would get so mad at me. It's like, you know, you're obviously in pain. You don't need to be here. And they would eventually
we
say,
basically
okay, and I
just
drag them
figured,
out.
we were contracted soldiers, you know. We
Yeah.
weren't part of their normal military forces. They didn't know where we fit in.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Is it?
Definitely. No, I mean, I think it allowed us opportunities later on that were beneficial for us, for sure. I'm not sure how much we're going to talk about all that, but
well, I figured that when we reached the limit on the recording that we would open a new one and then I would mush them together. So we can talk as long as you want.
well, it's more of like, I don't know if we want to, it's more of like, do we mention them? Is there some sort of, I don't know, you know, whether or not they want whether or not they want to be talked about or not.
Completely cut out for me.
I am not limiting what we talk about. My instructions from Beyond are that I'm supposed to tell the truth about them instead of all of the lies and fear porn that's out there now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
The
I'm
good
talking about
and the bad.
I'm talking about us. Like, I'm talking about our, like, Matt and Kat and I, like what we're up to now up there. And that's still my biggest question is how that all works. But, you know, of course, I'm sure that'll come in time. But yeah, I don't quite understand because, I mean, there's this whole thing with Spartan and Matt. Like, I don't like, we found him in a stasis pod, you know, like we found him in a tank floating. So.
Okay, I think things are starting to stabilize on my connection for a minute here anyway.
So what were you doing in a stasis pod?
That's a bit of a story in itself. It starts with me killing Draco.
Oh.
And, yeah.
I was
severely punished for that. Yeah, they did get upset. Apparently, Kat remembers that there was actually a plan to that, and I was the instrument to the plan. Apparently, some other guys wanted to out this one Draco and put somebody else in his place, and I was the tool used. And then when I was done with, I was the scapegoat.
Right.
So you were the means of the coup.
I was first sent to the arena as my punishment. I was meant to die there in the arena. But I didn't die. There were several times where, you know, I won by the skin of my teeth, but I still won. They even sent some former Amazons who were sent to the arena also. I think it was like 7 of them. They put me in the arena with just by myself, 7 of them.
Wow.
And I fought them. I killed most of them. And was it 2 or 3, Will? I can't remember. It was either 2 or 3 of them surrendered and gave the battle to me. And they're actually on our rogue team now.
That's right.
They basically, it's that, you know, that whole life debt thing.
Yeah.
Along with another one of the warrior cast. He was he was a general in the military, and he was punished for what, I don't remember what he did, but we were put up against each other in the arenas, and I defeated him all out, and he was expecting me to kill him, but I chose not to. I actually remember telling him, fight at my side. There was something along those lines, fight at my side. And he and I became good friends. And he and those Amazons are on the ship right now that we stole, and are now on the run.
Commandeered.
After the whole,
Borrowed.
I don't know how I was put in the stasis tank, but those reptilians, along with Kat and Will, got me out.
Okay. So you commandeered rather than stole a ship.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very hectic scene, and it was there, and lives need saving, so we did what we had to do.
Okay. I know I've mentioned in several interviews in the past, mostly with other people, that I have Imperial Draco household guards. At one point I had 60 of them. I think it's down to about 20. But it's back to that life debt thing. In a past life, I saved.
They're very big on their life debts.
In a past life, I died saving the life of the current Queen Mother. And so we're in a situation where she is honoring that life debt.
So that's why they like you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another person in our SSP group who was part of that situation, and he remembers it as well. So it's always nice when you have confirmation for what you remember. So,
yeah.
But he's not public and cannot be, because he's a police officer, and it would ruin his ability to do his job. You have to sound sane if you're going to be in court.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
And a lot of people consider us borderline at best. But that's one of the things about this particular group of guys. You guys are sane. You sound sane. You talk like regular Earth level veterans talking about what your crew did. And yeah, this is exactly what's going on. You're not skipping a beat. You're finishing each other's sentences. You've obviously done this. So.
Something. Absolutely. Something. I mean, I still can't wrap my head around it. Like, I still understand, if that's me, then how am I still here? And the whole time loop thing. That stuff I still don't remember, So, like, I don't have, like Matt was talking about having memories of being trained like that. I don't have memories of being on any kind of other planet receiving training like that. So I'm not sure exactly how I got to that spot where I was at.
Not yet, anyway.
Exactly. Not yet. Probably come.
Yeah, well, I have memories of being trained by the Germans on Mars in Shula.
And I do have memories of being in a German, classroom and things, but it's just like a flash or two. Like, it's not like I don't have like, oh yeah, and then after that I went and did that. Like, it's still all scattered and it doesn't have a linear outline yet.
You told me about that when you were in Shula, you were wearing lederhosen.
That's what I remember, yeah.
That mental picture has stuck with me.
Well, that's what I didn't understand because I didn't remember seeing like red swastikas and everything everywhere. It was just like I kept seeing lederhosen and a lot of blonde, a lot of kids and like a lot of Renaissance stuff like on the walls. It wasn't what I would consider Nazi, like we, or at least taught.
The Nazis didn't go to space. It
No.
was the Germans trying to get away from the Nazis that went to space.
Well, exactly. I was going with stereotypes here.
Yeah, well, the stereotype is that it's Nazis in space, but that's not the reality. The reality is it's German people who were escaping all of the mess that had just piled up over the last 200 years before World War II. And they were doing their best to get out of that. And
yeah, what I'd love to do, get out of all this crap.
well, you knew it had to be bad what was happening for people to literally get away from Earth on ships that were giving them radiation sickness. I mean, really, the history is there were 3 separate genocides in Germany in the first half of the 20th century. 2 of them were the German people. The one in between were the German Jewish people. And all of them, when you look at who actually started and instigated and carried through, all of them were done by the Jesuits. And so it's this big, hairy mess.
Hairy mess. Sorry.
Yep.
Very big, hairy mess. And when I start seeing people talking about
cutting out, there isn't even a.
When I start seeing modern day so-called disclosure people obsessing about evil Nazis, I'm going, they don't know what they're talking about.
I'm not even getting anything any of y'all are saying right now.
Well, you could try backing out and coming back in, see if that helps.
I think he's frozen.
Okay, I got y'all back, I think.
Cool.
Okay.
Nope, maybe it froze again.
Well, we're just going to keep going, and when you can hear us, you can talk, and when you can't, don't. Sound reasonable?
Yep, I got that.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, y'all are back now for as long as y'all are anyway.
We got to intend for a good connection, the 3 of us.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, we have. I'm holding intent that this is going to work. So, yeah, I got a new internet service provider in December, and it works really good for regular stuff. But when I'm uploading a video to YouTube, I cannot do anything else. And Lou can't even be on the computer then because it takes all of the available uploading space. So
I'll bet he gets upset with that.
he gets frustrated because he plays Facebook games all day.
Yeah, was that poker I saw him playing with last night?
Probably. He plays several of those kinds of games. And it's okay. I mean, my God, guys, he's 71.
Yeah, while you were talking, I was watching him play on the side there of the screen.
He's 71. Let him play if he wants, We get along really well because we let each other do what we want.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Isn't that the way people are supposed to be? Let him do what he wants.
The secret of a lasting relationship. Just let me do what I want.
Yeah, we've been together 19 years.
There you go.
So yeah, there's We've had a long time to figure out, just let each other do what you want. So you don't act like you own each other. You just, this is what I'm doing at such and such time. Adapt.
There you go.
What is it? I thought he was going to take a nap today during this, and he says, no, I have to answer the phone and answer the door so that it doesn't interrupt your program. I'm like,
well, thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
I said, gee,
There you go.
yeah. So he's running buffer.
Perfect.
So,
It's called a gentleman.
oh, he absolutely is. And when we go to conferences, and we've been to 3 of them, he basically acts like my bodyguard. It's kind of amusing. Although the last one we were at, there were a couple of tall whites who were there, and they had talked to Lou. And they said they were there because they had intel that I was in danger. And they were really happy to see him because it meant they didn't have to worry.
Nice. It's quite a presence.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he was real world Department of Defense contractor during Vietnam. So his skills are similar to our skills.
Nice.
And you don't forget that.
Yep, I heard you. Y'all told me about that a while back.
So some of what he did is still classified, so we're not even going to go there. Oh, good. Zoom just sent me a message. We've removed the 40-minute time limit from on your group meeting. Yay, we can talk as
So there
long
was no
as we
time
want.
limit last night. We were like,
They're like, we're getting good
we went
intel.
for like
You
2
continue.
hours yesterday.
Well, if it's just 2 of us on Zoom, there's no limit. But if there's more than 2, they put a limit so that people like me who host these things have to pay them. So they're giving us a gift. And so yes, thank you, Zoom. So
Thanks, NSA.
Yeah, maybe they can make my internet a little more stable so that I can actually join in on the conversation.
yes, thanks NSA. And
And with
I
that,
think,
everything freezes.
They just want to find out how much you guys are talking.
and I think it actually is the NSA because the NSA was who activated my memories in the first place. And I still don't know why. So that's the big question. That's the $1 million question mark over my testimony is why did the NSA reactivate my memories, especially starting with Mars? Because there's no obvious motive for them to do this.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries. Why do we get to remember the things that we remember at all? I mean, that's my question. Like, I'm sure if they really wanted to, they could probably keep us from remembering anything. So,
Well,
I don't know.
I think they went to a lot of effort to make most of us not remember anything. So the fact that a lot of us are starting to remember bits and pieces and then bigger chunks is like a foobar on their part.
Well, I'm sure their models say it's inevitable. So I'm sure they probably looked at who the best person was. I mean, I'm sure they have their looking glass tech and saw what they wanted and did what they thought was the best option.
So they picked me.
And I mean, and they paid us. I mean, and that was a serious sacrifice for that too. So,
Yeah, they did have a serious sacrifice because the agent who did it was killed 3 years later. So
No, so yeah, that's one of those things where it's one of those, who knows how this all could have gone down.
so
No, I know. I mean, it's there's like a few people that really played a big role in all this, and I mean, I'm thankful for all of that, for sure. Penny, thank you. I know it's hard.
thank you guys for being along and remembering as much as you do and finding each other and me.
Well, come to find out, Matt and I had a lot of good times together. So, I mean, it wasn't all as dreadful as I thought it was going to be, honestly. So,
Let's hear about some of the good things.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about, Matt? I mean, you talked to Kat probably a little bit more than I have, and you probably remember way better than I do. I kind of just tag along. I mean, I kind of just have little snippets of memory.
Well, I started to remember how we first manifested our abilities.
Oh yeah.
I remember telling you about that. It was basically I figured out that the first ability that manifests is really akin to a combination of your personality combined with trauma that you're dealing with, emotional, psychological trauma that you're dealing with in that moment that it manifests. It's like this. The psychic ability there manifests as a self-defense mechanism to make whatever's happening to you in that moment stop. For me, it was everyone being stronger than me, pushing me around. I wanted to make that stop, and so my subconscious gave me the ability to make that stop. It made me stronger than everybody else around me. Will, you had a reptilian constantly draining life off of you, and you wanted to make that stop. You were sick of that, and your subconscious gave you an ability to not only make him stop, but to drain that life right back out of him. Kat,
That's an important one.
her mind would, I remember her mind being invaded by some Draco, violated by that and sick of it. Suddenly her subconscious gave her the ability to push a Draco out of her mind and block that Draco from entering her mind, and then that evolved into her being able to push into a Draco's mind even when they didn't want her there.
That's impressive.
Yeah. They're basically, they didn't know what to do with us because our abilities that manifested were so much stronger than their normal forces, their normal military forces. So they're like, well, let's just put them into a single group and keep our eyes on them, keep them close, was the idea. There was another kid that was so terrified, always wanting to run away, and his subconscious manifested the ability to make himself and anything he wanted invisible, even to the psychic eye of a Draco.
When I was in Shula on Mars, we had a break-in of the Mars Raptors, and I was able to, at that point, manifest a shield around as many of the kids as I could cover. And that fits with your theory that it's whatever you need to defend yourself at the time.
It's a connection to your subconscious. In that moment, the monkey mind, it's in that moment of extreme trauma where the monkey mind gets pushed out of the way and the subconscious says, I need to defend myself.
Yeah.
Whatever I have to do to defend myself.
Yeah. When I'm in
And that's
survival
the first psychic ability that will manifest.
when I'm in survival mode, like when I'm being shot at, and for people who haven't heard my story, I get shot with energy weapons, not bullets. So when I'm being shot at, I have a lot of functions that will just pop up. And one of them is I can track the energy of who's attacking me back to the actual source, be it a computer or a person, or in one case it was a tall gray. And then I can see a menu that pops up, and it's a control panel to it's a control panel to an orbiting platform that has major weapons on it. These weapons are designed to protect the planet from invaders or asteroids. But when I'm under attack, this menu pops up and I get to pick one to defend myself with. So at that point, my ethical compass pops up and says, Penny, you should not be using a weapon of mass destruction to get rid of one person. And so sometimes I don't use that menu. Sometimes I just send back a pulse of energy back through the energy connection and basically blow up the person's computer, the one who's doing it to me. Except that I found over time that they just moved to another computer then. So, you know, I'm really trying to not kill anyone more than who is actually attacking me.
Very kind of you.
I'm not trying to be a murderous bitch. Come on, guys. Just making sure they don't kill me.
I think I would have actually taken it further, made sure they never did it again. But that's my personality.
The one that was a tall gray, I blew up where he was. He was in the ET base, the ET cave below Dulcie base. And I did blow up that. I used one of the menu weapons on that because I already knew about what Dulcie base was about. I already knew about the Hall of Horrors. This was something that should never have been allowed in the first place. And so, yeah, I took that out. But I remote viewed the place about 4 months ago, and the American government's already rebuilding it for them. So it wasn't, even that was not a permanent solution. You have to wonder what's going on when the government is rebuilding it for them. What are they getting out of this?
Well, I mean, that's what is it? Isn't well, the tall whites? That's what the Air Force. So God only knows.
The tall whites are Shahami. They're worker class Anunnaki. But this wasn't tall whites. This was tall grays.
Oh, sorry. Tall grays. Yes, sorry.
Tall grays. They're another race. One that most people have not even heard of. They're 7 foot tall and they're grays and they have noses.
They have noses.
So another race entirely. I know they don't make all the hormones that you need to survive, so they have to eat them. And they're the ones that are responsible for the cattle mutilations. So,
They absorb it through their skin. That's what I remember about the vats of what looked like, it was almost like looked like gumbo type stuff, but then you see hands and eyeballs popping up. And it was like steps. You just walk into it. It's on my blog.
hmm.
You know, this was a reoccurring dream of mine, of me walking down this hallway, and it was just lined up, just these vats, and it was steps and a handle, and that you would step into it.
Yeah, well, that's what the tall grays are doing. And why the American government is enabling them, I don't know. I don't know what they have on them that would encourage this. Unless they think they're going to do it anyway, they can control them this way.
I don't know much about them. I've had one interaction with them, and seemed to be somewhat of a beneficial one. So, and I don't necessarily, it was just like it wasn't 7 foot tall. It was just like a taller gray, whatever classification that is.
Well, there's thousands of them, just like any other category.
Right. Like I said, I don't know which one, but he seemed to be helping. Well, at least my altar stopped me from rebelling. So, or I guess me, but yeah. Because I had a dream where I wake up and there's 8 doctors that look exactly the same staring at me, and I'm like, okay, this is obviously some grays, because they all got the black eyes. And then the next thing I see is I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this tall, very much white gray, almost like ethereal, like not almost like he didn't have a body, but I'm sure he did, but it felt very ethereal. And he had much
Would his
more.
eyes get all beady like?
I don't remember it. Yeah.
Where it would just look like slits.
I don't remember eyeballs. I remember, I can't picture his eyes. I really can't. It's weird. But he had way more of a personality than those grays. Like there was way more going on.
There's this tall gray that follows me around, but most of the time his eyes just look like slits, and then his eyelids open up, and then you see the full black eyes. But he's a tall gray.
Yeah, I've seen this guy. And I was about to be like, oh my God, because I could actually move, and I was about to, get my revenge. And then my I guess, my altar that everybody we're talking about today, he stopped me. Like, he was like, no, like put his hand on my shoulder and was like, no. And I'm like, okay. But it was weird because the gray, he sensed that whole conversation going on in my head and kind of smiled at me after that whole interaction. So, yeah.
They're telepathic.
Always humbling getting put in your place up there. I'll tell you what. But yeah, interesting. I mean, that was my one interaction, and one of the few times I've actually had me tell me I don't know, it was an interesting interaction, to put it that way. But came home and I was fine. So, and I actually felt better. So
they did something decent for you.
They did.
I would say about damn time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, might have been my own fault for being too unruly for a while. Who knows?
That's the way we are up there.
But no, it's not all bad. Definitely the gray. That seemed to be a beneficial thing. I know they do regular maintenance on us for whatever it is they do, but it's like regular maintenance. That's what the feeling I got from all
keeping us from dying.
Huh? I didn't hear that, Matt.
From dying. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm thinking it keeping us from dying.
Most likely.
They haven't stopped me from dying. I've been dead 5 times and sent back.
But you came back.
I didn't have a choice in the matter. Wherever I went, and I've been a different place each time, they decided that I had to come back. I would be told flat out, your mission isn't done, and shoved back.
And
So,
those guys that are trying to keep you alive probably knew that was exactly going to happen. So
well, I know that when I get picked up for mission, that the first thing they do is take a record of what I'm like before they start. And then they age regress me back to age 25 in the shape they want me in. And then I serve my time with occasional trips into regen. And when the time is done, they put me as close to back as they got me, as they can manage. Once in a while, I will get a tech who will actually fix something for me. Because, to be honest, the body's falling apart. And so when they
oh,
fix,
wouldn't that be nice?
when they fix something for me, it's usually something little that they think the doctor isn't going to notice. But my doctor does notice because my blood tests come back. And he looks at me over his glasses and goes, "What were you doing?" And I can't tell him. I mean, I can't tell him that there's a regeneration tank that I spend time in, that over all of these trips, I've probably spent an entire lifetime in regen. You know, I can't tell him that. So I tell him, well, you know, I don't know, I'm better. And he's told me that he started treating me in 1994. And he's told me that during that time, there have been 5 times that he was certain I was going to die, and that he was ready to start easing me out, or as they call it, prophylactic care, palliative care, and that I would suddenly get better. Not well, not completely okay, but I would suddenly get better, and that he had no idea why I got better. Well, some of them have been things like, I had a Dr. Whitaker's book, and so I started taking DHEA and CoQ10 and NAC and several other supplements. And if you look on the flow chart for metabolic issues, for sugar metabolism, if you go through the whole chart, I have to replace every one of them because I don't make those things. And so I started replacing them, and I got a whole lot better. Had to take pills, but I got a whole lot better. And so another one was I had Barnes myofascial release therapy. Well, when I started taking it, I was hunched over because my fascia were so tight I couldn't move. And the treatment broke it all loose. Then my system had to deal with all the toxins that had been trapped inside the fascia. And it took me about 2 years to go through the whole thing. And I can stand up, I can move around, I can walk a whole quarter mile on a good day. You guys think I'm kidding. I don't have to use a walker. I don't have to use a wheelchair. I do sometimes have to use a cane. But overall, for 64 years old and have been through everything I have here and now, because I've had my neck broken, I've had my shoulder broken twice, I've got 10 blown discs, I've worked my ass off. I grew up on a dairy where my first job was teaching baby calves how to drink from a bucket. So it's I haven't had this charmed life of a household princess. I've worked physically my whole life. And so I'm doing pretty damn good to still be alive and making sense when I talk. So that's what I'm going by, okay? I've been dead 5 times and I'm still here. So I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm seeing that look, Will.
What's that?
That look like, yeah, you're doing damn well.
Well, I mean, still here. I mean, that's all we can really say is we're still here.
We're still here and make sense when we talk.
As much as we can. Exactly. Sometimes.
Now, what we talk about may be kind of out there for the common folks, but it doesn't mean we're crazy, just that we have a different experience than they do.
Yeah, we'll see. Might not be too crazy in 10, 15 years. Who knows?
My understanding is that all the treaties with the ETs that were made in the 1950s are at their expiration date and being renegotiated. So there's a few things that are going to be changing in the next 5 years because some of those ETs, notably the tall whites, are refusing to deal with any more secrecy. They want the right to walk freely amongst us without any of us touching them. Now, I don't know about where you live, but I live in Redneckville, bumfuck, California, and that ain't gonna play well here.
Well, they're white, so it'll be fine here in Arkansas. But yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it'll be an adjustment period. I mean, I think we'll have, you'll have Space Academy and all this other stuff. There'll be plenty of stuff to get people's attention going. There'll be all kinds of stuff. I mean, should be really cool, honestly. But who knows?
I know there's a group of Greys that are called the Ponty,
Mm-hmm.
and they are talking about official first contact, I believe, in 2024. That would be a major first step.
That's the same date I'm getting.
So that would be a major first step. I've been following them on Twitter for years now.
Mm-hmm.
I met their telepaths, Sue and White Otter, at Stargate. It was a conference in 2018. And they're really cool people. And they're
Yes, Matt?
I'm only getting some of what y'all are saying, but I know y'all talking about the Ponty, having met him and stuff, and I met him, had this whole trip, and then they tried to wipe my memory of it.
How did that work?
I think it was
We lost your sound.
Yeah, there.
Okay, I've got red bars on him, which I guess means that we've lost it.
Yeah,
There was one of the Ponty that was coming to visit me. The individual that they call PETA.
okay, I'm back. I think I'm back.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What was your story?
And he's gone again. So
I think I'm back.
There it is.
Okay, here we go. All right, I guess I'll throw it in there as fast as I can before it cuts out again. Oh, I think it cut out again, actually.
No, you're still there.
You know, we can, if you want
Yeah.
to talk, you can just maybe take off your audio or just take off the video and we can just listen. At least we.
That would work.
I think that's what I'm going to do. How's that helping?
We
going.
can hear
We can
you
hear you.
now. We can hear you, so talk.
Hang on, I can barely hear y'all.
Well, that's because we're waiting
Hello?
for you to talk.
Yeah, we're waiting on you, boss.
Okay, now I could hear you. Okay. I had met them. I decided I was going to start working on my PTSD regarding the Greys because I realized that my fear of the Greys was based on the clones that are very torturous, horrifying in you know what they do to me. But I realized there were others out there that that weren't like them. And so I started, I just kind of sent out a mental pulse, if the Ponty were real, okay, I'd like to meet them. And that night, I wake up in the middle of the night with like 4 or 5 little guys, or I think some of them were female. I couldn't quite tell. Everything's all fuzzy. But just 4 or 5 little Ponty in my room. I think they were in astral form. I do know that the moment I send that pulse out, I started getting communications telepathically, like a whole bunch of people just saying, "Hi, how you doing?" and stuff like that. But I do remember this one, and I think it was a girl. I can't quite remember. I know they don't have any thumbs because she grabbed me by the hand and there was no thumb there.
Yeah.
And she wanted to show me something, and suddenly I'm in my room. Suddenly I'm in this facility, and it's like I'm going on a tour of the place. And there's this. What I remember of the tour was this giant object. It was like a blue beam of light in the center, and there were rings kind of spinning around this blue beam of light, hovering around, and it was like the beam was being projected between the ground and the ceiling through these holes, and then there was this thing just floating in the center like a donut, like a transparent donut, and it was just floating around there, and I thought that was real interesting. And in the center of the donut where the beams met was like a sphere of this blue energy.
Wow. That's cool.
I don't know what it was or what it did, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Last February, I died from pernicious anemia and got sent back. And PETA, who is one of the Ponty, made an effort to show me what I was doing wrong, why I'd gotten so sick. And he showed me the pills I was taking and said, wrong ones. And then he showed me the bottle that I had in the bathroom of the old ones, and there were like 20 pills left in it. And he said, take these instead. And I did, and started getting better. By the time I saw my doctor in April. My blood tests still showed I was in trouble, but I was getting better already. And PETA has not been back to see me because he got in trouble for that. He was not supposed to interfere. And I am incredibly grateful that he did. And I'm really sorry that he got in trouble for it. Because when the folks sent me back, they didn't fix what was wrong. And so I was really miserable. So yeah, they can do a lot of good if they were allowed to. But this set of rules that allows them to be here is really nitpicky.
Real strict.
So I think things will be easier after official first contact. Have you met any of them, Will?
What are the? I never get names. What do they look like again?
They're about 5 foot tall, a little shorter maybe, and they're your classic grays with a tiny little nose, and they have the black, but the black is like glasses for them. So when they take them off, they have actual eyes like we do.
Cannot say that I've met those grays.
I never saw them with the Ponty. I never saw them with the black lenses. I saw them as it was like just the eye socket, and it was a huge eye socket with human-sized little eyes inside.
Yeah.
And all their faces look different, it's not like the clones.
Mm-hmm.
They're all unique.
They're unique, and they're like people. They
had some interesting personalities.
I
got the sense of that. I don't quite remember, but I got the sense of that.
Yes, I actually have met them. Yeah, I have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're stationed out of New Mexico. That's not that far from you.
I'm sorry, what was that?
They're stationed in New Mexico. Their base is on Sandia Mountain. So they're not. New Mexico isn't that far from you as far as spaceships.
As a crow flies, no doubt. No, he was a nice guy, stand-up guy for sure. Yeah, I don't have very pleasant memories of grays, so it's just kind of one of those things with me.
One of my biggest memories of grays from Mars was getting them drunk.
Nice.
They smell bad. The ones there.
They're horrible. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they smell bad. So we were using cleaners on them to remove some of the smell. And wouldn't you know it, but household cleaners make them drunk?
Interesting.
And they don't eat like we do. They absorb through their skin, like Matt said. So, you're applying cleaners because they stink so bad, and they're getting drunk off of it. And they would get just downright silly. So that's one of my big memories, is using household ammonia on them and them getting drunk.
They remind me a lot of that one character off of the new Star Wars movies. What's her name that owns that bar?
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, she does. She is a lot like them. Absolutely.
Yeah. She reminds me a lot of them.
No, they had that smart snarkiness about them too.
Yeah.
They remind me a lot of the Asgard from SG-1, to be honest.
Well, The
Where do you
Asgard are
think they got
supposed
the idea from?
Well, I'm just saying, like that, they remind me of them. I'm just saying, it's like even their personalities are similar to them.
Yeah, they
Supreme Avenger,
take them-
you know, I mean, they're funny.
take themselves so seriously, and they act like they're all powerful, and they're these itty bitty little guys.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes, I am aware that size has nothing to do with their actual power, but at the same time, the visual does matter.
It's amusing.
So yeah,
Seen the beings we have, yeah.
yeah, like the three of us deal with Draco, and we're little compared to them. We
Yeah,
come
I
up, what,
remember.
about kneecap?
I remember making one's head explode.
I haven't done that to a Draco. I've done that to German officers.
Well, this was a technique that I had developed with my telekinesis. How my telekinesis manifested was, um, it was it took the same route as that training I talked about last night about the whole, um, you know, destroying the wall, training,
Yeah.
mind over matter.
Well,
It
Will
took
hasn't heard that, so you might want to tell.
Well, I've told him about that. We talk on an almost daily basis, so he knows everything.
You mean you guys are leaving me out of the loop?
I tell you everything. I tell him. Well,
Okay.
Some days it's just
almost
this,
everything.
it's all. Some days it's just hey, we just
Sometimes,
There-
sometimes it's
some
just
days we're
bad
just
time.
keeping each other company. It's just the phone being there at the ear. We're just keeping each other company. That's it. Anyway, what had happened was, it started in that training room, or I should say in that testing room with the big black testing room, the darkly lit, and there's that warrior, that reptilian warrior on the other side. And this time I remember Cat wasn't there. This is the one memory I have in that room where Cat's not there. All the other ones, Cat was there, and we were tag teaming, working together to survive this warrior's onslaught. And I remember losing most of the time. I remember when I was younger, I'd break ribs and stuff, and I'd be on the floor, and the guys in the room watching were just so upset, like, where's all our resources going? And then there was just this one time, and I was upset, and I remember being enraged and thinking, no more. I'm not doing things your way anymore. And the goal of that test was to evade his onslaught of attacks. And this one time I stood my ground. I didn't budge. As he's running at me, this was the first time my left arm started glowing. And I remember, that the thoughts in my mind were, no more. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not playing by your rules anymore. That kind of thought process. And I remember his fist swinging at me, and I remember swinging my left hand and met his fist. And when our fists made contact with each other, his whole arm exploded.
Wow.
And that was the first time that my telekinetic super strength really manifested. Later on in life, when I was used as that tool to oust that Draco, I actually remember, you know, us face to face, facing off in his own throne room. And I remember him going to swing at me, and I remember hitting his fist with mine. His whole arm explodes. Then I came down with my right fist at his knee, which was more like at my shoulder. I
Yeah.
was taller then because the planet I was raised on had a higher gravity, and my endocrine system had to be augmented so that my body would be denser and stronger to withstand the gravity of that planet. So I wound up growing up taller because of that, around 7 foot tall.
Hmm.
But I remember punching his knee out. His whole knee explodes. He falls to the ground, and I come back with my left fist right to his face, and his face just explodes. And so there's that. And then I was sent to the arena. And because I
I
refused to
can see
die in
that.
the arena, they tried to permanently retire me in the stasis tank. And that didn't happen because my friends rescued me. And as of this moment, um, that meat is on the run with Kat and Will and those reptilians that owe a life debt to me, that we've become friends, close friends. We're all on the ship, this very huge cigar-looking ship.
Yeah, I know those ships.
Yeah, this is an alien designed ship. This is not human made.
Okay.
I don't know. It's almost like a combination of steelwork and stonework type of technologies melded together.
So you guys commandeered a ship to escape with.
Yeah,
Are you guys still in Draco territory?
I don't think so. I don't even think we're in German territory at the moment. I do know that I think we met up with the resistance, and I don't even know what we're resisting against. I
Is
just know
there
that
resistance?
there is a resistance. It's just that I don't know. I don't remember enough to know who we're resisting against and what the reason is. I
Okay.
get the feeling, even though I don't have memories to it, I get the feeling we're resisting against basically everybody who wants to use the human race as slave labor, as food, things like that. We're resisting against that. I get that feeling. I just don't have any memories to back it up yet.
Will, do you know anything about it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've seen things. I don't know. Like, I haven't seen this is what we do. We do this and that. But I've definitely seen that alter lead military operations on planets and a lot of negotiating. So yeah, definitely active. Definitely out there doing things.
I know humans are used as currency to buy tech, and that's possibly what we're resisting against. We're tired of being used as currency.
Okay.
I think we're out there looking for allies, seeing we can, kind of seeing what we can dig up, see who can help us, things like that.
Well, I didn't think there was any resistance against the Germans from inside the Germans, because the entire military is set up. We have chips in our head. And
not everybody.
In Nacht Waffen, every ship I was on, everybody had a chip in their head that if you got out of line, the computer would automatically shut you down.
With the German fleets, it's not one single fleet. There are factions of Germany that are their own fleet. Basically from the colonies, as the colonies got older, when they went back in time and made these colonies, as the colonies got older, now we're in our time. It's not one single German fleet. It's like different nations, but everybody's speaking the same language, but everybody has a unique culture to their own now. It's slightly different cultures nowadays.
Well, I was never among the civilians. I was always on ships. I
After
was
meeting
always
Kat,
in military.
yeah, after meeting Kat, I started remembering this planet that me, Will, and Kat almost used as like our home base. And
Okay, Will.
it had
Yeah.
cobblestone roads, and it had a bar, and it had ironwork, almost like Victorian style ironwork to it,
Okay.
and yet it had hover cars. It was like the architecture of the town, the city, was like early 1900s style, yet it had hover cars.
Yeah, I've seen that on Neu-Berlin on Mars.
And there was no solid concrete roads. Everything was artistically designed. All the roads were cobblestones, and it was like they were laid by hand,
Probably
from what it looked like. I remember Will and I, drunk off our asses, singing down one of these cobblestone roads one night. It was,
Now
when
that
that memory popped up, it was hilarious.
that would have been worth hearing. The two of you singing.
Yeah, we were. I guess we were pretty serious out there, but whatever reason we chose that planet to be completely ridiculous, because it's like we were those guys, those obnoxious drunks. That was us. But I don't know. We must have done something that planet, because they were endeared to us for whatever reason. But yeah.
We really I have more memories of chilling out on that planet than I do being anywhere else, when in my memories of Spartan. That was basically where we went to unwind.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about our team is we weren't it wasn't like other humans, because we were part of the Draco Empire. We had more freedom. We didn't have chips in our heads. We were given choice to black goo or not. We weren't under somebody's control.
Well,
when
where
we had
I was-
downtime between like a mission or a job, we could do what we want, and we had the freedom to go where we want. If we wanted to walk in, we had the freedom to just do that. We were not restricted. There was no restricted area for us.
That's how I was able to see Penny on the bridge. Like never made sense to me how I was able to see you there, but that makes sense now, that if I was a Draco soldier, which is exactly what I saw. It all fits in a lot better for me now, and why.
That makes sense. You would be on the bridge too, because as enlisted, it wouldn't.
No.
Right.
So.
Yeah. We just had that freedom. All of us remember being on the moon and having some downtime for whatever reason we were there. We had some downtime, and we're like, you know what, let's go see this guy with his freaking chair, And so that's where we met Mooney, one of Ted's alters. And he's got this chair that his DNA is the only DNA
Ted.
His DNA is the only DNA that'll work for it.
I may have to get him on this thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And so I remember us hanging out and him showing us the chair and stuff, and him releasing the locks and letting, I think it was Will, sit on it.
No, it was lighthearted. Like we were like switching places with each other, with that machine, like seeing from each other's eyes.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, you don't need a machine to do that.
It was just cool. He was just showing us.
He was just showing off, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it does far more than that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was Nacht Waffen, and I was considered a second-class citizen because of the Draco DNA. So on every ship I was on, all of the Nacht Waffen people had a chip in their brain that if you even considered thinking about Earth, and you weren't supposed to, or if you even considered rebellion of any kind, the chip in your head would give you basically a migraine that turned into a seizure that would put you down on the floor. And if you continued, it would burst your head.
And see, we didn't have that. The Draco thought that to be dishonorable.
Yeah, well, the German knew who they were dealing with.
Yeah, yeah. So as
They
members
were
of the
dealing with
Draco,
humans.
as members of the Empire's forces, they refused to allow that in us. When we were dealing with the Germans, they were not allowed to chip us or anything, put us under
Good.
their control. We were actually, as Draco envoys of the Empire, we were allowed to walk into any German room. We were not restricted. We were considered Draco. And so we were given all the same freedoms within the German fleets. When we would go to the German fleets, we were given all the same freedoms that a Draco was given.
Damn, I must have been in trouble for giving you a dirty look.
Oh, I don't care.
We didn't give a shit. You know, we were still human. Even though we had these freedoms, we were still human.
Oh,
You
here,
know.
I was on the bridge, and you got to keep in mind, I had just gone through a court-martial after blowing up my commanding officer's head, and I had been put out the airlock, and they'd put a rope around me, so when they knew I was dead, they hauled my ass back in, dumped me into the regen tank, and it hadn't been more than a couple of weeks that I had been out of the regen tank and back on duty, and Will's like on the bridge, and he's winking at me.
If
You know,
Will was on the bridge, it's most likely both Kat and I were there too, but I just don't remember that.
well, you know, bridge blacks, they're stiff, uncomfortable, you have to stand up military. And, you know, the Germans there are so prim and proper anyway.
They didn't like us much because they didn't like that we were not that way.
Well, I was already in trouble and basically told if I screwed up again, I was going to be put out the airlock and not brought back, which I knew was a whole load of crap because,
It was against regulations.
well, it was what had originally generated me attacking him was against regulations.
Right.
But I was defending myself from him violating regulations. But at the same time, you're out on this ship and it's just, you're stuck with this guy and he's your boss. And you don't know who, if anybody, you can actually trust. And the whole ship knew I had been airlocked. So it's like, okay, I'm coming out. I'm humiliated for standing my ground. And I'm on probation that if I screw up again in any way, that I'm going to be airlocked again. And I know damn well that I'm not only the navigator for that ship, I'm the navigator for the entire flotilla, the armada.
Well, if
And
you were in the Draco Empire and you went through all that, it would not be a humiliation. You'd be respected because you stood your ground. Even after the punishment, you know, you stood your ground. Respect would be shown to you.
well, in the Germans, there wasn't. I was still
Yeah.
das Missgeburt. The abortion that lived.
This is that picture. See if I can get that picture. This is what I drew up, Penny. See it? No, it's not that good of a picture.
Well,
Oh, yeah, that was
it's
a
showing
look.
up. The uniform was black, but otherwise, yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, I
Hey,
don't.
Penny, do
Oh,
you remember what Will was wearing on the bridge when you met
he
him
was
there?
he was wearing bridge blacks, but he had the insignia as a master sergeant.
Hmm. Okay.
And that was what I went by, was he was enlisted. And even as a shaved tail lieutenant in trouble up to my, as far up to beyond my top of my head.
So either Will was acting as a spy or for some reason, or that was a different alter than what was on my team.
Yeah. So what I saw was a high-ranking enlisted man, and as an actual officer, I'm not supposed to fraternize. And I was already in trouble, big trouble. What I had done was technically a capital offense. And if he had not been breaking regulations to trigger it, I would have deserved what he did to me. And yet at the same time, they had to keep me because I was the navigator for the entire fleet that was out there. And we were going to rescue colonists from a colony that they were told empty it out and didn't. And so then the Guardians destroyed the colony. So we're going back in time to rescue this planet of over 1 billion people. And we didn't have enough ships. When we reached the point you can't go back anymore, we only had half the people. So I know this is a failed mission. I mean, we accomplished a lot. We got half the people, but we didn't get them all. And that's a very big deal. A 60 and back, and we only got half the people. And it was 45 days of being taken twice a night for variations of this trip. So I've got 90 alters out there. Half of them are Nacht Waffen, half of them are Kruger, and they're all on this mission together. And even with that, we still didn't get but half of them. And all of those ships that you see in these pictures coming out of the sun, those are German and Kruger ships bringing those German refugees back to the solar system, where they're being taken to Mars and Ceres and Jupiter and other worlds, where there are already German bases and colonies, and they're being embedded because they speak German and they're used to a much higher standard of living, and they're used to having robotic servants, whether these are actual robots or cyborgs, they're still used to having them. And they're not used to manual labor, and they're very well educated, and it's going to create cultural issues. And at the same time, you've got Solar Warden running around trying to play like they own the place. And it's getting real interesting out there. And it doesn't help that NASA just attacked Saturn, and Saturn is where the Guardian base is. That probe that was out there for so long, that NASA decided to pop it into Saturn to turn it into another star in our system, that was a NASA attack on the Guardians. And the Guardians just blew it up before it did any harm.
Somewhat futile, but whatever.
It was kind of stupid,
Yeah, it's like,
childish.
good luck. Good luck.
So, I mean, the Guardians are the one group out there that even the Draco don't argue with. And I remember being in on the conversation where the Guardians told the German High Command, you know, you guys are going to have to go back to the solar system. And we're starting with this particular colony. And you evacuate them all. And High Command told them, F you. And so the Guardians gave them their predicted length of time and then blew the place up. And so now the Germans are playing, let's go rescue those people. And at least they're taking them back to the solar system like they were ordered. But a lot of the quote fun and games out there are going to end because the Guardians are putting a stop to humans in space. We're going to all be sent back to the solar system. So what's it going to be like when you've got the Germans, Kruger, Monarch, planetary corporations, aka ICC, all in the solar system together with Solar Warden?
Big party.
Big party. We're all inside the Oort cloud together.
One
Yeah.
big happy family, huh?
Since when have humans ever been one big happy family?
Oh, I mean, that's what they're, seems like that's what the Guardians and everybody else is trying to tell us, you know?
My understanding is that we're going to be given a choice between become a zero-level civilization, which means we take care of every individual regardless of our estimation of their worth, or we get pushed back into the Stone Age. So we have made ourselves a threat to the galaxy. So just like any other toddler that's escaped its playpen, we're being sent back.
Fair enough. Get me making cyborgs. Go get in trouble. But yeah, I mean, we'll figure it out. It's gonna be dicey. Well, I know it seems like most of the stuff I do now is mostly negotiations and stuff. So a lot more political strings pulling, things like that. And there was one race, and I can't see their face. I was walking into a room to meet with them, and they were very kind and friendly. It felt like they were from a long ways away. But ever since then, we've stopped negotiations. I don't know. We must have got something from them that, whatever. I don't know what it was, but I feel like something big, something important, and I haven't seen my guy negotiating as much anymore. So whatever treaty or whatever was made, I haven't seen at least that guy negotiating like he was. So I'm not sure. They seem like I know it sounds weird, but they seem like froggish. They seem like humanoid frogs, as crazy as that sounds.
That does not sound crazy at all. The guy who was my commanding officer on Der Spatz, the Sparrow, the guy that's a policeman, he talks about a lot about a race that they call little frogs, and they're actually human size. I don't know what they're comparing them to that they're considered little.
Right. What are the big frogs?
Yeah, what are the big frogs? But yeah, I've heard about that race before, and In fact, I got shot by a pair of their ships in 2017 and fired back, and both ships exploded. So that particular person got really, really, really angry with me that I was not supposed to defend myself like that. I didn't speak to him for a long time because obviously he didn't think my life mattered. So if I'm not supposed to defend myself when I'm being actively shot at. So
I have no idea. I don't know. We all make decisions in the moment there. God only knows.
well, you get shot at, you notice you're being shot at.
Yeah, but were you in your, as a German, like who were you, what ship, who were you fighting for?
I was sitting here in my chair in front of my computer monitor being
So not up
shot
there. Oh, that's different.
here and
That's
now.
Well, that's different. Well, I have no idea. No idea. Like I said, I don't even. This is the only time I've ever seen these guys. So I mean, maybe they're evil. They didn't give me that vibe, but they seem. I mean, who knows?
I don't know. I wasn't doing anything to them. They were in orbit, decided to shoot at me. And I'm like, my basic reaction was, what the?
Right.
Yes, I have a potty mouth. I'm trying not to use the F word because this is going to go on YouTube. But
Right.
yeah. But yeah, it's annoying sometimes. When you're defending yourself, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if they're the good guys or the bad guys. And you're just sitting here going, am I going to tolerate this? Well, it's not going to stop. So, you know, you're sitting there for 10 minutes being shot at. Yeah, you're going to fire back. Especially since the menu for the weapons array pops up.
It doesn't matter who's good or bad in that moment. When you're being fired upon, you have a right to defend yourself.
That's what I thought. So I fired back with the smallest weapon because it was a ship, not a planet. And then I had to deal with being scolded. And it was like, why? You know? And I definitely took the attitude of, this person doesn't think I matter.
Right.
Yeah.
These are the frog people?
The two ships were the frog people.
Hmm.
So that was in 2017.
Interesting.
So I don't know what time frame you were negotiating with them.
That was like 2 months ago, maybe.
So
Yeah, they're wearing robes. I don't even know it was frogs. Like they're, like I said, they're it's like they're at the end of a conference room. But I mean, I thought frogs, but I don't know. They seemed like that, but they were like gray and blue, kind of. Anyway, it wasn't like any frog that I'd ever seen before, so I'm not sure it's a frog. But they were alien, obviously. But well, who knows? Like I said, I think we make friends and enemies with whoever we have to up there. You know, like I think that's.
well, my attitude was they shot first.
Yeah, I have no idea. So I mean, do what you do. Feel inspired to destroy them. You feel inspired to destroy them. That's where you go.
I was inspired to make them stop shooting, whatever it took. And if it was an accident on their part, oh well.
Well, I'm sure they got regen tanks too. So
It's going to be a bit hard when they're the whole ship was exploded.
It just depends if they know how to astral move their bodies or move their souls like other species know how to.
Or time travel and rescue everybody.
Who knows? A lot of options up there.
Yeah, lots of options up there. Well, guys, we're slowing down. You want to call it a night?
I've barely been able to contribute anyway.
Yeah, I got some dogs that are hungry, so I should probably get them fed here.
I'm noticing it's getting dark out your window.
I put up chickens, all that good stuff.
So, well, guys, it's been a good episode in spite of Matt's connection problems. And thanks for coming.
Thank you, Penny. Appreciate it.
Cool deal. Thanks for having us.
Okay.